you can look at the same thing and see it from a different angle, and none of the angles are wrong. It's just the point from which you are experiencing it. So it's not paradoxical. It's the fact that when you observe something from here, it looks like this, and it is. But when you observe it from here, it looks like this, and it is. And you know, when we go through a transformation of perception, consciousness, and I can speak from my own experiences. I had an extreme one. What happens is that we are generating a magnetic field all the time, and the vibrational state of that magnetic field is dictated by our mental, emotional, and what you might call spiritual higher awareness state. And that magnetic field is pulling towards it other magnetic fields that sync with what we're putting out. These are people, places, ways of life, jobs, relationships, all of it. And when we go through a spiritual transformation or a consciousness transformation, clearly that impacts itself upon the magnetic field we're projecting. Thus, it starts disconnecting from what the old field was connecting to, the old state of being, but the new one is not. So people, locations, relationships, opportunities, all this stuff, jobs tend to change. The more powerful the change, the more blatantly they change. And what is experienced then is, and I experienced this, is that your life seems to fall apart in that process. But it's not falling apart. What you're experiencing as that is actually the transformation between what the old you was drawing in and what the emerging new you was drawing in. And if the old, and people say, oh, my life's falling apart, and you say, well, hold on a second, that's the life you didn't want. That's the life you wanted to change, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, but because we find solace in security, things not changing. We've got to kind of get over that one in the period we're in.
Big time.
Where I'm going with this is that if the old them continued to, or the new them continued to pull in the old things, then nothing changes. And the old them has to go. Life's falling apart, mate, so the new one can emerge. And I just wonder, Henry, in fact, I more than wonder, I'm sure this is the case, that if we go to a much, much higher level of observing this whole situation we're in, whether what we're actually experiencing collectively is the old collective self falling apart.
Right, yep.
Because if you take it just on the physical level, while the present banking system, political system, military system, and all these other systems stay in place, nothing's going to change, because their job is to stop it changing in terms of freedom and the expansion of human awareness. They've got to go. And this is another reason why, although it might not seem it for a few years yet, it's another reason why this control system's doomed. It's doomed for a number of reasons. It's doomed because it thinks it's in control when it's not. It might, you know, I use an image in my talks where I put humans collectively in a box, and next to it I put a reptilian face on a bigger box, but it's still a box. And the way that they have manipulated humanity is simply to put us in a smaller box than they're in, but they're still in a box. And because they are of a certain mental and emotional state, i.e. they want control over, which is always a massively extreme expression of insecurity and fear, they can only get so far in terms of what they can access. This is why they're very much intellectual based rather than spiritually based. But from the levels of awareness that are in the end involved in this transformation we're experiencing, this control system is a fly on an elephant's back. It really is. It's just the point at which you observe it. And this information construct on which this control system is built, this information construct that we've been experiencing through this last period of control and suppression, it is being phased out as the new one takes over at a much higher level, much more advanced level of perception, awareness, everything. So its vibrational information foundation is actually moving under its feet.
Yep.
It's crumbling, and it is like a cornered rat at the moment. It is throwing everything it can at us, and it might strut around in its arrogance, which is its version of whistling in the dark, but actually, it's terrified. It's terrified of humans waking up, and it's terrified of what's coming. I also feel, intuitively, you feel energy that they are pushing this along as fast as they can in their panic. And of course, the more you do that, the more blatant what you do becomes, and the more mistakes you make, and the more ludicrous become your excuses to justify your actions, because you haven't got time to work up a good story anymore. So we'll just come out with any story. That's what we're seeing in the Middle East now. I mean, this stuff about protecting civilians, it's such obvious garbage. It's unbelievable.
Yep.
But really, they haven't got time to construct a good story now. It's like, just say whatever we need to say and do it anyway. and that, of course, exposes the game more and more. You know? But it really is. You know, we're facing the cornered rat, and it's not going to go quietly, but it is going to go. One of the things I've picked up over the years from out there sources, if you like, is that what seem to be incredible problems on Earth, not least environmental problems and all this stuff, they're not really the problem we think they are, because we're only looking at it from the level of potential that we think is the cutting edge.
That's right.
If you know, when this new reality comes in, when the blinkers come off and the headphones come off from the moon matrix, I'm absolutely sure this is going to happen eventually. We are going to be visited by, or let's say, benevolent non-humans are actually going to make themselves known to us. But of course, you know, there's a lot of manipulation going to be potentially within government and fake landings and all that stuff. But I mean, I'm sure there's going to be genuine arrivals at some point, which will have the knowledge to right these wrongs, and we're going to start interacting with other civilizations that are not of this planet, because that's it was like eons ago, before this hijack took place, and we were put in our prison cell. We can't see the bars. You know, it's dawning on me more and more and more profoundly the extraordinary level of difference between where we are and what is possible. I mean, it's just almost beyond belief what is possible compared with what we think is possible. And so a massive, massive, insolvable problem becomes a press of a button, symbolically, when you move into the level of awareness of what is really possible and how it really works.